Hello and welcome to Stamping and Creating with Fiona. My name's Fiona Whitten and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Wokingham in Berkshire. So today I'm going to share with you a fun fold card, one that I made with the acorns, not Monday gone but the Monday before. And I'm going to make it this time around with the Timeless Arrangements bundle. So this is a brand new bundle that will be available from the 2nd of May. You'll find it in the new 2023 to 2024 Annual Catalogue. Apologies, I can't show you the insides of the catalogue just yet. But this is what the front looks like, and just bear with me 2 seconds because I'm just double making sure that I am live. Let's see, and I can't find it. Oh great. Right, let's try again. There we go. Let's see now. I know I have this problem every week. Ah, I found it. Hopefully that is now quiet. Right, okay, so yes, so this is the new catalogue. Can't show the insides this week, but come next week, I'll definitely be able to show you the insides, so there won't be an issue then, as it goes live on the 2nd of May, as I said. So this is the bundle that I'm going to be using, and I haven't decided which of the bits I'm going to use yet. So this is the Timeless Arrangements stamp set. I'm loving the fact that now Stampin' Up have Stampin' Up have named both the stamp set and the dies by the same name. So no longer going to have to try and work out which die goes with which stamp set. So which is saves me a lot of time. So the stamp set has 26 stamps in it. It's photopolymer, so it's clear, as you can see. There are lots of lovely sentiments, so you can actually make up some sentiments yourself. If you've seen some of my videos before, you know that I'm a sucker for mixed fonts, so I really like the fonts on these sentiments. And then to go with the stamp sets, there is a set of 16 dies. When I first looked at them, I thought, what the heck? But then I realised just exactly what I could do with them, and really there is an awful lot. And I'm loving these. Because my first thought was you take them off and you try and stamp in here, but no, that's not the case. You use these and then you use this particular piece here to glue behind whatever it is that you're gluing, a sentiment or whatever, and I will show you how that works in a minute. So those are so we have some dies that will cut out images. There's no I'm not going to hold these up to that, simply because the images on the stamp set say that it's shown at 90%, so that's not going to work. So but we do have some. So this one and this one are for these. This one here is for that, and then there are a couple of others. I want to say this one here cuts out this long frond, and that one here cuts out the short frond. And then the rest of them you can use as backgrounds because they will just simply die cut and outline shape. Right, okay, so without further ado, I'm guessing you might actually want to see what I'm going to make. And so this was the sample card that I made to show the acorns. before we started. So this is using the new, reach for it, it's called Cheerful Daisies. So I use, actually I use mostly the dies to go with this. So this is all die cut, these flowers and things. So that was the first card, and what actually happens is it's like a gatefold at the bottom, and then what happens is this gatefold will fit here around the bottom here, and then it will stand up. Probably can't see it very well in the video here, but I will take photographs. So it will stand up like that, so from the top it will look like that. And this fold is called a double Dutch fold, or a Dutch fold. I've seen various names with them, but I believe this one is called a double Dutch. Anyway, so this is the first one that I made, as I said, using the Cheerful Daisies. And then this one was the one that I actually made during the Zoom with the team. And I love llamas. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm just nuts about llamas. In fact, there's so much llama stuff around this place, it's silly. So we've got the llama on the front here, and then we have some sloths who are meditating, which I think is quite amusing. It's not like they actually move in fast rate of knots. So, and again, this will open and hold like that and will stand up appropriately. So the paper here that I used is part of the Zany Zoo bundle, or suite I should say. And what I like about that is that some of the dies in it will actually cut out some of the paper. So that's what I did here. I didn't actually have to cut out. This is not stamped. This is a piece of the patterned paper. So I simply die cut that. And then the sloths here, yeah, I had to fussy cut them. But hey, they're worth it. So, and then I just popped a little sentiment on the inside. So that's what we're going to make. I will, of course, put all the cutting measurements and stuff up in the description for the video. So you don't need to dash around trying to write down everything at the moment. I'm going to use, so I'm going to start with some coloured cardstock. So this is Pretty Peacock. Some of you may recognise it. It was an in colour a few years ago. I've also got a piece of Berry Burst, which again, that was another in colour a few years ago. And I haven't decided yet, but I've got this one out as well. So this is the new Bubble Bath, I want to say. Yes. I wasn't sure if I would like this pink. I first thought it might be a bit insipid, but actually it's a lot brighter than I thought it would be. So, and I think it will look great certainly against the Berry Burst. I'm not so sure about the Pretty Peacock, but hey, I was hoping I had some Lost Lagoon, but it hasn't turned up yet. So that's the colours that I've got. I will definitely, don't know that I will use that because the paper that I've got is some checked. Now I'm not going to be using a lot of this, so maybe I may not even use it at all. So here's some of, this is the paper. I decided I was going to use the same paper for all bits. And it comes from the Hello Irresistible 6x6 pack. I have shown this before. It's one of the paper packs that is available as part of the online exclusives. So we have all sorts of colours here. So I've just picked out this checked pattern because I thought that I don't want too fussy a background, but at the same time I want some interest to it. So the card itself actually is surprisingly easy to make. And there's really only 2 pieces you need to cut. And then the rest of it is really layers and things to decorate. So we're going to start with the first piece of coloured cardstock. And you need to cut that to measure 10.4 centimetres wide. So I'm cutting this on the short side. And it needs to be 25.4 centimetres long. So I'm going to turn this and cut it on the long side. I've done it this way because you can't, the width of the paper is normally 21, so I have to do it from the length. So I said I wanted it at 25.4. Okay, like that. So I've got a little bit of scrap that I'm not going to need. And then I'm going to score at 14.9 centimetres. And make sure that I'm not going to cut it. So you have to remember that the dark blade's the cutter and the lighter blade colour grey is the scoring. So you will end up with a card that has a front panel that is shorter than the back panel. Now that's important. Don't worry about it. That's how it is supposed to be, because this is the bit that will then rest on the flaps that we're going to cut next. Okay, so that's that first bit. And then from the other piece, from the same piece of cardstock, we're going to cut a piece that is 5 centimetres wide by 21 centimetres long. And the reason we're doing 21 is it's basically double the width. So you then need on this piece to score it at both ends at 5.25, which if you've got a scoreboard with a metric plate, there is an exact point that tells you it's 5.25. I'm just going to have to do it like this. So on one side I'm going to give it a really good score, and then the other side is I'm going to do a much lighter one, and you'll see why in a second. Right, 5.1, 5.2, 5.25. So I'm just going to go through that a couple of times, but not as hard. And that's all the cutting that we need to do for the base card. So I'm going to fold over on those two score lines, but I'm only going to give one a really good burnish to start off with. There's my bone folder, like so. And then this one is just the one that I scored lightly. I want to make sure that these two join in the middle. There's no overlap, there's no gap, so I want them to meet exactly. So I'm just going to do it like that bit there. It's not going to play ball. Right, okay, like that. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder to sort of flatten this. So I know now that these are going to fold perfectly together, unless I've gone and moved it, but I think I'm okay. Right, okay. So that's the base card really I've nearly finished. So all that's left for us to do is actually then glue this. Now I've seen some people will put this around the reverse side, but then you need to either make this even narrower, or you need to make these a bit longer so that you can bend it around without catching, because they need to be able to move completely. So what I do is I actually glue mine on the inside, so to the inside of the back panel. So that this will be glued underneath here to that. I don't get too worried about it because there's some white going on it in a minute, and you're not going to notice it at all. So I get my glue, take that top bit off. It's always easier to glue the smaller piece than it is to the larger piece than the other way round. So she says, Managed to block that one. Right, I'll give that one up for a minute. Let's see how I do with this one. Also make sure that I have the right side. What on earth is going on? Just glue will not play ball. Oh, sounds like there's a bit stuck in the middle. Tweezers are good at this. Get that out. Hopefully that will now work. It's either that or I'm going to end up with a really large blob. I guess I should have checked these beforehand, but I've just come back from my daughter's, so she hasn't moved in yet. We're still working on the house. Blinds and curtains were going up today. Hooray! So it's getting there. We're almost ready for her to move in. Well, I'm ready for her to move in, but the house isn't quite ready. Right, let's try. God dear, what is going on? I'm sorry about this. Let's try this one again. See if I can get that to shift. I mean, it was all... Oh, there we go. Told you it was all going to come out as a big blob. Right. Going to have to use my bone folder a bit. If in doubt. Right, that's the bit. That was the offending piece that I really don't want on there because it's a lump. So I think that was blocking it. I'll put the bone folder to one side so it's not going to stick. I'm going to use my fingers. What the heck? It's Tombow, so that means it'll wash off. In fact, it just simply rubs off. So, right, try again. So we want to make sure that this is level with the bottom of the card. And that the edges meet. So let's see how that is. That's fine. And that's fine. Okay, so there we go. So this then, when everything is on there, will sit on those two pieces, which is good. Now I can't use that bone folder because it's got glue all over it. I'll use this one. Right, okay. So I'm going to put that to one side for a second. So now we're going to start decorating. So we're going to, first of all, we're going to decorate this piece. And I'm going to need, first off, I'm going to need some white cardstock. And it's a square. So I want to cut that at 10.2 by 10.2. Like so. So that will sit on there, like that. There'll only be a small gap going around it. And then you want a piece of the double-sided paper, and you want that to be 9.6 by 9.6. So that will then sit on top of that white square. Like so. In fact, actually, I wanted some more. Yeah, I could really put some more cardstock. If you put more cardstock on, it's going to get quite weighty. So if I put the more cardstock on, I want 9.9 by 9.9. So it's quite cardstock hungry, this card. Obviously, as I said, you could do it so that you don't have quite as many layers. So that will go on there like that. So let's leave that for a second. Then I want to do, so that's the front flap. So then I want to do the inside. So the inside is, I'm going to start with some basic white. So I simply want that to be 10.2, like so, by 14.5. And then I want another piece of the double-sided paper. I'm going to have to start gluing in a minute so I don't get confused. And that's the one thing one tip that I would certainly suggest you follow, is that actually on this particular card, glue as you go along, because then you won't end up sticking the wrong piece on to the wrong panel. So the paper to go on the inside is 14.2 by 9.9. Let's move my trimmer away for a second. So this is going to go on here like that. As I said, there's only going to be a very small border around each. That was the one that was completely gunked up. This is the one that exploded. Let's see if he's going to do that again. No, I think we're okay now. So we're going to put that on here. So this is the inside panel. So it goes on the inside back. If you prefer to have a larger border, then obviously you can cut it down further, so that you have a 0.5 centimetre all the way around, rather than it's basically 1 and a bit. So this is going to go on here like that, like so. And obviously you want to make sure, well, it's not obvious I guess, you want to make sure that this piece is not going over those score lines. You want these to be able to be fold flat properly. And when you fold this piece, so you've got your 2 flaps closed, this piece closes down, and you'll see, hopefully, that there is a slight overlap. And it is supposed to do that. Okay, so we're going to glue these 3 together and put them on the front. So I've got my cardstock. Which I'm going to put onto the piece of white. As I said, a small border around. Try and get it equal border on all 4 sides. Sometimes that's easier said than done, I know. And this piece needs to go on. Like so. And then that will then get glued onto, oops, here. Like that. So the more layers you put on, the heavier your card's going to be. So this is just not going to go as a standard letter. It's when it's finished, it'll be a little bit too thick to go as a standard letter, and it will definitely be a little bit maybe too weighty as well. You might be able to get away with it. So, okay, so we've got our front flap done and we've got our inside flap done. So the last thing we need to do on the base is these little flaps down here. So we're going to cut some white, she says, and I seem to remember that this bit will just be large enough. So we want to cut a piece of, actually we're going to want 4 pieces, because you're going to want on the inside, or on the outside and on the inside. Now these are not quite square, so when you come to glue them on, you need to be aware which way round you are going, just so that you know. I'll find the rest of my white cardstock. There we go, a whole piece. So we want to cut 4 pieces. Which are going to measure 5 by 4.8. As I said, they're not quite square, so when it comes to gluing them on, you do need to make sure that you know which way you're going. So there's 4 that are 5.8. You will also need to cut 2 pieces of the double-sided paper, which is going on the front. So that's those. And they are going to measure 4.5 by 4.7. I'm hoping that some of this 4.7 and then 4.5. I only need 2. Oops, dear me, clumping around. Was that 4.5? The other thing is to try and keep track of where you are. It's a good idea, as in when you're cutting, to simply just tick off the ones that you've cut, so then you know, don't end up doubling things up. So you can just about make out that they are, if you look at this, they're slightly wider than they are taller. So if I put that on, that would literally fit directly, but I don't want that. I want it to be on there like that. And then it's just a question of making sure you've got the paper on the right way around as well. So that's that one. And then this one is going to go on here like that. Now, I'm not too worried with the paper that I have, that I don't necessarily have my design going all the way across the same way. Obviously, if you have some directional paper, like when I cut these, you want to make sure that your directions are going the same way. So when I cut these two, I actually cut a long length and then I cut it so that I knew that this wave would then continue. Similarly with the daisy paper, you probably didn't really notice that, but my pattern actually continues across. So this daisy here is the ends, and then this is the main flower there, and then some leaves. Right, so these two are going to go on here. As I said, there is going to only be a very small border. So these will get put on. Like so. And then the other 2 white squares are to go on the inside, which you can then use. You can then decorate, or you can just simply write on those flaps. It's really up to you. So these 2 pieces are going to get put in here and here. So you can do your to and from and write a little message. Or if you need lots of space to write, then obviously you can cut a white panel to stick on the back of the card. And that white panel will be an identical size to this white panel that is glued to the inside. That's going to go on here, like so. So if anyone's got any questions, just please feel free to write a comment. I can't see the comments, but I will see them and answer them later. So if you do have a question, then please feel free. So, as I said, that's it now. That's really the base card. It's all decorated. The only thing we now need to do is that centre panel. Now, the two cards that I made for acorns and at the acorns thing, you probably can't quite make out, but I actually used the stitched rectangles just to make life simpler for myself. Only issue is stitched rectangles are on the retiring list, so they will not be available come the 2nd of May, which I am really upset about. It doesn't sound like I am, but I am really upset, to the point that I'm actually not going to get rid of mine. I am going to keep them because I like these. And I do have a few retired things in my personal stash, and they're definitely going to make it into there. So just so you know, they're only around till the end of the 1st of May. So they're on the last chance list, and they're also reduced, so they're currently £26.40 instead of £33, just so that you know that. So you can go on to my online shop, or if you have a demonstrator, then obviously get in touch with them quickly and then place that order. So what I'm going to do is I will simply give you the cutting instructions for just plain panels. So I'm going to use another, I was going to change colour, but the colour that I wanted to use was Lost Lagoon, and I don't have any of that in cardstock yet. So I'm just, let's see, I've probably got some scrappy bits here that I can use. So I'm going to use this. So we need a panel instead of using the stitched rectangles, which is going to be 10 by 6.5 centimetres. So that's the panel that will sit in the centre of the card. And then you're going to need another piece of white, basic white, which is going to be 9 by 5.5. My 9, and there's my 5.5. So these are the pieces that, well, this is the piece that effectively you're going to decorate. So when we're finished, that will sit on there, that will sit on there, and then when we open the card up, these will sit like that. So the $64 million question is, what do we do to decorate? So I think I'm going to do some stamping. In fact, I know I'm going to do some stamping, and I'm going to do some die cutting. Let's move these out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and I already made the decision that I was going to use this, oops, that's going on there, to sit on here. So first off, I'm going to stamp a sentiment on here, and then I can die cut it out. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to just simply say thank you. Pretty sure that will fit. So let's get a block. Oops. Pick that up. And this time I am actually going to use Lost Lagoon. I'm not going to use Pretty Peacock. Now these are photopolymer stamps. Normally I would say you would want to use something slightly softer underneath so that there's a bit of give. But because this is just a sentiment and it's not like really thick lettering, it should come out okay. So that's my thank you arch. I know, as I said, that will fit in there quite neatly. And I love these little dies because not only do they cut, but they give little stitching. So there's little crosses, one on each side, and then there's little dots and dashes. Or dots? Well, yeah, you've got some dashes and some dots. So I'm not going to do all that one now. I'm going to wait till I've done a bit more. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do some, I think I might do this in white. So that's going to get die cut out. I'm going to stamp flowers. So I'm going to stamp that flower. I'm going to stamp that using my memento. So I'm going to quickly use my Stampin' blends to colour them. There's my memento. I'm going to do that. Might even do two of them. So I know that's going to fit there, so I'll put that there. Like that. And then I'm going to do another one up here. Now I only have one die of that, so I'm going to have to cut those out one at a time. That's that. And then I think we'll do some leaves as well, other leaves. Again, I'm going to do those in memento. Let's do two lots of those. I'm not too worried that the outline's not too brilliant. Right, let's see. Now I'm going to use my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Let's just move things out of the way. And I've also got some old washi tape because I know that I'm going to have to fix some of these dies in place if I don't want them to move around on me, because that would be a disaster. Right, so that one I'm not too bothered about because simply it's just a die cut. This I am bothered about because I really don't want that one to go walkabouts. So I'm just going to use just a little bit of washi tape, as I said, just to fix that in place so I know it's not going to walk on me. Like that. And then I need to find the die for, that's for the flower, I think. Yep. And that's for the leaves. There we go. Just make sure these are fixed in place. Now there is a trick to this. A lot of the these dies have like a hole at the bottom, and if you place that hole so that you can see the ink through and then line up the top, then you know you've got it in the right place, she says. And I'm quite happy to turn these around simply because I know that they're not going to go walking about. Let's see, that one. It's just a question of finding the ink. That can go over there. So make my sandwich. So I've got one, I've got my clear, I've got my paper with my dies, and then number 1 on top, and then just, oh sorry, number 2 on top, sorry, and then just simply wind it through like that. So my thank you should just come out quite nicely, like so. Keep that for a second. This will come out nicely too. Like that. Take out those bits. So you could colour these if you wanted to, but the idea is that you simply put them behind the sentiment like this, so then you can glue them very easily to the back of that sentiment, and then you can add all your other bits and pieces as well. I mean, I just cut it out of white, but you could use gold foil. There's all sorts of things, really. There's so many options available that you can go completely mad with these. And they are actually one of the class options for May. So I have 2 classes in May, both on the same day, but a morning and an afternoon session. The morning session is going to be timeless arrangements like this, and the afternoon session is the beautiful balloons. Where's that other flower? Yeah, just doubting myself then as to whether or not it was going to cut it in the right place, but yes, it does. That's that one. And then that one, again, we want to go on here, like so. Just move that out of the way so I don't end up cutting through it. Oops. Again, I'm not too worried about them moving because I've actually used the washi tape. Normally I would suggest you don't really move them around like that, but I know the washi tape's holding it. Right. So again, these 2. I've got a sneaking suspicion that that might have moved. Not this one, but the other one. Slightly. Oh, it's all right. Right. Okay. Move those out of the way. Then I'm simply going to colour these very quickly. So I've got Berry Burst and I've got Bubble Bath for the flowers. And I think I'm just going to keep to the lights. So I'm going to start with the light Bubble Bath, simply because it's easier. I prefer to start with the light and then go with the dark. I know other people prefer to go the other way round, but that's really personal preference. I haven't heard that it makes any difference in the long run, but this is just how I like to do it. So that's the Bubble Bath. I want the light, that's the dark, I don't want that. I want the light Berry Burst, so I'm just going to put a bit on here. And then go over it with the Bubble Bath again. Make sure I've got the light one. Blend it in a bit. Like that. And then I'm going to use the others. I've got some Lost Lagoon and I've got some beautiful Peacock. So I think I might do beautiful Peacock on here, just on these, just so that it ties it in together. on the leaves. I did actually use the light one, believe it or not. And then I'm going to use the light Lost Lagoon on here. Let's do all of these. I'm not going to worry about doing the shading. Oops. That's those. And the one thing, if you're not doing all the shading, is that you don't have to be 100%, you don't have to colour the actual image in 100%, so I cut the tips of these are not actually, I'll say bothered, it's not quite the right thing. So I've got a thank you, which is going to go on here. These are going to go on here. Now I don't mind the fact that these are going off. Quite happy about that. I know some people wouldn't like it, so they might want to think about which they would want to use. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on this. And actually, I might want to put the flowers in front or tuck it. It really depends on how you want to do these. And then the thank you will go here, but you can have the flowers wherever you want them to be. That's the nice thing about this, is you can arrange this now as however you want it. So I'm going to put some, and I'm going to actually use glue dots because it's a lot easier. Just got to find some. It's just making sure that you've got them where you want them to be. No, I want that to be on the front, like that. That one can be at the back. So depending on whether you want it front or back, depends on which side you want to put your glue dots. So just be aware of that. There's nothing worse than putting the glue dot on the back of it when you realise actually it needs to be on the front. That one's going to go on here, and that one's going to go behind. Managed to get another glue dot on my fingers. Oh. And what I don't want is to have my ends sticking out the bottom of my sentiment, so I do need to snip those off. I had my scissors. Don't know where they are. Just use my fingers. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but given that it's behind the sentiment, you're not actually going to see it. That, and I'm going to use some glue dots on this as well, I think. Like that. So this is going to get fixed behind here, like so. And then this will get fixed on here. And then the other thing I could do is just to add a bit of interest. It's a very sweet little stamp that has little round circles on it. And I don't mean Olympic rings. They're just sort of, well, they kind of, I guess, they could almost have been. And I'm going to do that in, let's see. I think I might do that in Lost Lagoon as well. There it is. Just to add a little bit of interest on that background here. I'm just going to have to position my flowers so that you don't see that blotch. So that's going to go on here, like that. Dimensionals, which I know are around. Yeah. Oh, it's just the stamp set going to the ground. Okay. As I always say, it can't go any further, so let's put some dimensionals on here. And there's no harm when you put the dimensionals on to actually have them like holding everything in place. So I've actually got them sort of that over the back of various things. Then I know that things are definitely not going to go walkabouts. Okay. So that's like that. This is going to go on here. Like so. Try and get it straight. Like that. Now that is then going to get fixed to, nearly finished. So that's going to get fixed to that. That's going to get fixed to that. Now we need to put this onto the centre of the card, of the front of the card. Now, and we also need to make sure that we do not glue it to these two bottom panels. So we only want to glue it at the top. So sometimes it's better not to go as far down as you think you should. So that's going to go on here. Try and get it equal so that it's top, bottom, top and side to side. Sometimes you have to have a second look at it just to make sure. Make sure that you haven't got any glue on this portion here. Obviously, if you have, then you need to wipe it off, but I haven't, so I'm okay. And I'm going to then fix that on with some more dimensionals. Like so. So that is going to go on there like that. So that is the front of my card. I could put something on here, but I quite like that, just having that one focal point there like that. But we do need to add a little bit of bling, I think. We'd be very remiss if we didn't put any on. I think I'm just going to these. I picked something out and then I decided actually I'm not going to use them, but I am going to use these. So these are iridescent rhinestones. I think I put a few of those on. I'm going to go for the smaller ones though. I'm not going to go mad. I'll use my take your pick tool with the putty end. 3's enough. I could go 5, but hey. Right, I think that is it. I could put a sentiment on the inside as well, so I said thank you there. So I could add on the inside for something like for all that you do, or we've got the thank you, so I could do I really appreciate you, or for always being there. Or you could put the very much in there and just put it onto a simple panel like that, and then just glue it in. It's really up to you. So that is it. So that is my card for today. As I said, it's a double Dutch fold, so it's going to go like that. Hopefully you can see it. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way, like this. Move it back down again so you can see. There you go. So that's what it looks like finished. And obviously you can, as I said, you can do the inside and the envelope. So I will post photographs of these on Facebook, and I will also put all the directions for the cutting instructions for this as well on the description on the YouTube post, so you'll be able to at least replicate the base card and then add your own focal point. As I said, the Timeless Arrangements stamp set, the bundle, will be available from 2nd of May. This is one of the bundles that I'm featuring classes at the end of May, so you can find some more information about that if you go to oakfieldcrafts.com, and then at the top of the page, if you click on the classes, kit 6 and things, if you just click on that, there'll be a pop down, and then you can click on classes and events, and that will have more information. Thank you, Helen. Oh, I saw a comment. My goodness, glad you like it. It's very. I'd have to say I really do like this this bundle, so I can see me using it lots and lots. And anyway, so next week it's beginning of May, so it will be the first Wednesday in May. So it'll be Card and a Cuppa over at Home Grange at 10, and then I will be live here at 2:30 with the virtual Card and a Cuppa. So I hope you can join me then, and in the meantime, have a good week and take care. Bye.